Once I had to rent an apartment. I came to a small town in Pennsylvania for work, just a one-week business trip, and the hotels around there were ridiculously expensive. And then, luck. The landlady agreed to rent me an apartment for almost nothing. Of course, I was happy. Way too happy to ask any extra questions. The apartment was on the second floor of an old brick building. Inside, there was just one room. Old furniture, neatly arranged, like no one had touched it in years. Whatever. All I needed was a roof over my head. After endless trips around town, I was completely exhausted. All I wanted was to unpack, have some hot tea with a sandwich, and finally collapse into bed. The next day was going to be rough. The feeling of being alone in someone else's place was strange and heavy. The air smelled damp and woody, like the apartment had been empty for a long time. The windows were tightly covered with heavy, dark green curtains. While the kettle was boiling in the kitchen, I pulled the curtains apart and opened the window. Evening air rushed in, pushing out the musty smell. Somewhere below, the road was humming, with an occasional car passing by. I took my bed sheets out of the bag and decided to make the bed right away. And then, I froze. It looked like something straight out of the last century. A massive metal bed with curved headboards and fancy patterns. A real feather mattress. Soft, heavy. They don't make those anymore. I smiled. A childhood memory popped up. My grandmother's house in Ohio. The same kind of mattress. The same feeling, like being wrapped in a warm cloud. Nostalgia hit me hard. After a light dinner, I closed the curtains, turned on the little bedside lamp, and happily lay down. My thoughts drifted freely. Memories of my grandma, of carefree days. Outside, I could hear distant cars. Inside the room, an old clock was ticking loudly. It hung across from the bed, next to a large wooden wardrobe with a full-length mirror. Lying there, I could see my reflection. I winked at myself and closed my eyes. The sleep was restless. I dreamed that I was asleep, but at the same time watching the room from the outside. The curtains were swaying from the wind. The night lamp was on. And then, a whisper, right into my ear. "Look at the clock." I turned my head, trying to see the dial. The numbers blurred. The hands were spinning wildly. And then, suddenly stopped. I stared as hard as I could. 3:12 a.m. relief washed over me, like I'd completed some important task. And then, I looked into the mirror. The night lamp cut through the darkness, but my reflection wasn't there. In the mirror was an old woman. She was lying on the bed, staring straight at me with cold, angry resentment. Then she suddenly sat up, throwing the blanket aside. I screamed in terror and woke up. My own scream woke me. The clock showed 15 minutes past 3. I sat there for a long time, looking around the room. Everything was in place. In the mirror, me. I even waved at myself. "Just a dream," I whispered, but I couldn't fall asleep again. In the morning, the landlady, Mrs. Harper, called me. She apologized for calling so early, asked about the plumbing, and then, casually, asked if I'd slept well. I thanked her and quickly hung up. Now I understand. She knew. The day was hard. And when I was walking back from work, some old ladies were sitting on a bench near the entrance, chatting peacefully, gossiping about everything and everyone. Give them a reason. They'll pick you apart head to toe. And here I was, a new tenant. "Good evening," I said, speeding up, pretending I was in a huge rush. It would have been rude to just walk past silently. Evening, the grandmas replied. So, did you buy an apartment here, or are you renting? One of them asked. I'm renting. Just for a short time, I answered, still walking. Hey, wait a minute. Come sit with us for a second, another one said. I stopped. Clearly just walking away wasn't going to work. Better satisfy their curiosity, or they'd invent something way worse about me. I walked over and sat down next to them. So, which apartment are you renting? 6 or 18? One asked right away. 6, I said. Why? Oh, sweetheart, you should have rented 18, one of them sighed. But 18 isn't for rent anymore. It was bought recently. New owners will move in soon. Another one chimed in. What's wrong with apartment 6? I asked. That's where Mary Collins lived, one began. A neighbor from upstairs took care of her during the day. Mary even left her the apartment in her will. But the daughter was quicker. She dragged that poor woman through court until she proved her mother was mentally unfit. And the neighbor was the one who found her, another added. When Mary was alive, nobody needed her. But once she died, boom, the daughter showed up for the money and the apartment. But Mary swore before she died that her daughter wouldn't get anything. The daughters tried to sell that place over and over, but nothing works. Even tenants run away. They say the apartment's not clean, a third whispered. They say Mary never left. Yeah, she's there, guarding her place from her daughter, chasing everyone away. The first one agreed. You already spent the night there, one of them asked. Did you see her? I didn't see anyone, I said, though my heart skipped a beat and my dream flashed before my eyes. But it was just a dream, right? People say she died on that bed in front of the mirror, and now every night she comes out and scares people. Run, girl, while you still can. Her words tore me apart. My heart was pounding like it wanted to jump out of my chest. In my mind, I saw the old woman from my dream, full of anger and hatred. Everything's fine, I snapped. What nonsense are you talking about? Why scare people like that? The apartment is normal, and I slept great. Anyway, sorry, but I have to go. I stood up and before they could answer, hurried into the building. Once inside the apartment, I took a deep breath. The old woman's words were stuck in my head. Trying to think clearly, trying to decide what to do, I went into the room and sat on the edge of the bed. The bed creaked. I jumped. 4 more nights. Just 4 nights. And I'd forget all this like a bad dream. Should I really look for another place? Or just move to a hotel? And if that old woman really was here, maybe I could talk to her. I wasn't trying to buy her apartment. I looked up at the mirror. It calmly reflected the room, and me, sitting on the edge of the bed. Mary Collins, I whispered. Hello. I saw you last night, didn't I? I'm sorry for disturbing your peace. Please don't be angry with me. I didn't know. I came to your town for work. I only need this place for a few days. Let's say I'm just visiting. I'm a guest in your home. Just a few days. And I'll be gone. Please, don't scare me anymore. I won't do you any harm. And forgive me, but I'm going to cover the mirror. It hurts and scares me to remember how I saw you. With that, I took a black shawl with red flowers from the wardrobe and draped it over the mirror. There was no way I was sleeping in that royal bed where the owner had died. No way. I dragged an armchair into the kitchen. Thank God, it unfolded. I took a blanket from the closet. If I was a guest, I should behave like one, not jump into the owner's bed. I had dinner, closed the kitchen door, left the light on, and lay down on the armchair. Of course, I was uneasy, but I said the Lord's Prayer, and hoping it was all just gossip, I fell asleep. I don't know how long I slept. I woke up in the middle of the night to the clear sound of shuffling footsteps. I grabbed my phone. 3:12 a.m. Someone was coming toward the kitchen door. I didn't just hear it. I felt it, with every cell of my body. Something fell, then more shuffling, another loud thump. When the first rays of sun touched the treetops, everything went quiet. Carefully, trying not to make a sound, I opened the kitchen door. Seeing nothing suspicious in the hallway, I slowly walked into the room. The black shawl with red roses was lying on the floor, not right under the mirror, but farther away, like someone had thrown it off. The room was dark. The curtains were tightly closed. I stood in the doorway, staring into the darkness, trying to understand what had happened during the night. Then I saw the old armchair by the window. I froze. An old woman was sitting in it. No, not an old woman. Something like one. A dark gray, human-shaped mass. From the draft coming through the open window, it swayed slightly, like it was breathing. Then the mass lifted from the chair and slowly drifted toward me. I stared at it, silently begging it not to touch me. When it reached the wardrobe, the gray fog froze for a moment, and then began to dissolve into the mirror. It grew lighter and lighter, until it vanished completely. For a few seconds, the mirror turned cloudy, like it had been washed with soap and never rinsed. When the paralysis finally let go of me, I ran around the apartment like a madwoman, throwing my things into my bag. I don't even remember how I got out of there. Pure horror. I didn't even take my bed sheets. I'd rather stay in a hotel than deal with that madness. I called the landlady. She refunded the difference and apologized over and over. When I asked what 312 meant, she told me it was the time her mother died. But why me? Why did I deserve that? At least I learned my lesson for life. I'll never try to save money on hotels again.